Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. Uh, this video is gonna be about some of the realities of van lifing. Now, off the top, I am not a full-time van lifer. I only do this van life stuff part-time. Like right now, I'm doing this van life primarily to build my channel and to travel the country as affordable as possible. Because in order for me to do this channel the way that I want to do this channel and travel to the places I desire to travel to, I had to let go of my 9 to 5 job. I've quit my job last week. So, if for some reason I'm not bringing in enough money through this channel and my savings start to get lower than what I'm comfortable with, I do realize that I'm going to most likely have to do some DoorDash and Instacarting and just other gig work just to, keep some kind of money coming in so my savings doesn't get too low. Because right now I'm living off of my savings. But, I want to try to be as financially responsible as possible. But anyways, and that's the reason why I'm living out of my van while I'm traveling the country to do these videos. And although van life in it can save you money, it depends on how you van life it. There's a lot of variables that go into whether you can even save money or not van life in it. It all depends. It depends on what part of the country you're from, what part of the country that you desire to be, all the way to just how you go about van life in it. Now, I would say for those who are in a financial pinch and you're looking for means to save a little bit of money on your overhead, or for those that are just sick and tired of your job and you want to quit and you're looking for a raise to penny pinch to where you can quit your job and do whatever it is you do to live a more enjoyable life. There's been a lot of people recently, I would say the last 10 years at least, there's been a lot of people out here looking into van life in it, RVing, all that fun stuff. Unfortunately, you do have people out here that claim to live a van life, but they really don't do it. They don't even do it part-time. The only time they're doing the van life is when they get ready to press the record button on their camera to record a video. And as soon as they get done recording, van life is over. Now they're back to their sticks and bricks. I've seen endless amount of videos, and I'm pretty sure many of you have seen endless amount of videos where you got 2 people and a couple of pets living in a van like what I have, a minivan. And, I look at the setups of many of these vans. Some of them look nice. Some of them are, they're creative. But I still have trouble believing that all of these people are really living that life. If they're living that life, they're like me, they're doing it part-time. But you got a lot of people that claim to be doing it full-time, and they're probably not even doing it they're not, at most they're doing it only part-time, or 2, they're not doing it at all. And secondly, when you look at van life, I know I said this before, but I'm going to say this again because it's been a while since I made this type of a video. But when you look at van life, you got to look at, you got to look at the amount of money you spend on gas, wear and tear on your vehicle. And with that being said, if you do van life affordably, the most affordable way to do van life is to pick a place where you can park for several days or so at a time and stay there. The only time you leave is when you, and also for those of you that work 9 to 5, obviously you're going to have to pick a destination that's not too far from your job. So that's going to be the most affordable way to live van life, is to live like that. And there's a lot of people that are doing this van life stuff full time for real. And sadly, many of them are not doing it because they want to. They're doing it because their finances are screwed up, and it's the only way that they're able to have a roof over their head. And a lot of those people, they get up, they go to work, they do what normal people do. The difference is, rather than going home to a house or an apartment, their home happens to be their vehicle. And then there's people that are retired, they're collecting SSI, and since their money is relatively low, those people, some of those people are doing van life too. In fact, there's a growing number of those people doing van life. And again, they're not doing van life because they want to. They're doing it because their money is low and it's the only way they can afford a roof over their head. So what many of those people do is, they pick a destination that's not far from basic amenities, and that's basically where they stay most of the day. I mean, okay, they might drive around, they might sightsee a little bit, but they're not out here traveling the country. They're not out here, parking by the ocean. They're not going to the beaches on a daily basis unless they live somewhere to where they're by the beach and they can go to the beach for free. But in that, a lot of these people, they're not, the whole Instagram version, if you will, of van life, unfortunately, is not the reality of many people who van life full time. And I would say it's not the reality of even people like myself who van life part time. And just to make things perfectly clear, I'm doing this van life because I choose to, because like I told you a minute ago, it's, this is how I save money on traveling. Because if I got to get in hotels every night, that would go, I'll be running through my money like crazy. And that's why I'm in the van. Now, there are going to be nights where I will get a hotel. Because either A, I might be in a region of the country where it might be too cold to to sleep in the van, which that's not going to happen too often. I mean, I'm only taking a trip up north at this time of the year because I got a couple of people that I need to see, and I haven't been able to visit them in a while due to my work schedule. But other than that, whenever I do this van life stuff, I'm going to typically follow the climate. Like in the winter, I travel south. In the summer, I do more videos up north. So this is an exception of what I'm doing right now, traveling up north in February, in the middle of winter. So if you guys want to, for those of you that are looking into van life and you don't have, $30,000, $40,000 to drop on a van and the van build to where you can have solar and you can, you can microwave and cook and you can do all that wonderful stuff like you see on a lot of your Instagram versions of van life. For those of you that don't have a lot of money, you're sick of your job, or you're just hard up on money for whatever reason and you're looking into van life, I want you guys to get a glimpse of the reality of, I want you guys to get a glimpse of the reality of van life. Now, remind you, I'm only doing it part-time. Now, if you guys look behind me, look very carefully. And if you look behind me, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. You're going to see stuff laid out all over the place, just looking like a hot mess. And I would say for many van lifers who are van lifing because their money is low, what you see right here is basically going to be your reality. So, if you're in a house, you're paying a mortgage, and you're having trouble paying that mortgage, honestly, unless you really want to quit your job and you want to do something different with your life, my suggestion would be to get a second job and continue to pay your mortgage and work and try to work it out to where you can pay off your home within 15 years, 20 at the longest. So before you walk away from your home and you take a hit on your credit, you take a hit on your finances because all the money you had to put down to purchase your home, of course, is non-refundable. Before you walk away from your lease agreement and you take, and again, you get that eviction notice on your record and, you take a hit in that regard, and then you lose your security deposit. And so before you mess up yourself financially like that, I just want you guys to get a glimpse of the reality of van life. Now, basically, like I say, looking back, it's a complete mess. Now, I do have a pet. I got my cat. Like I told you a minute ago, there's people that have van life pictures on Instagram. It's them, another person, or it might be them all by themselves. And then they got this big German Shepherd, which, like I said, I don't 100% believe that all these people are living van life. I mean, I don't even think they're doing it part-time, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm just skeptical. But here's the realities of van life. I mean, let's talk about diet. Now, you got a lot of people that when they get into van life, all of a sudden they want to watch their weight. They might become vegan, and now all of a sudden they have all these protein drinks, all these nutritional supplements, all these nutritional shakes, and just a whole bunch of madness. I'm going to tell you guys the real reason why a lot of that is going on. Now, as you guys can see, I'm living out of my minivan. Now, a minivan might be adequate space to haul your kids, for those of you that got kids. It might be an adequate vehicle to haul several people for an event. But as far as a vehicle to live out of, it can get very challenging living out of a minivan, especially if you're doing it with pets like I am. And with that being said, there's not going to be a whole lot of room for a refrigerator and a stove, or even everything that you need to cook using a propane stove. And secondly, the money that you would have to spend for an actual refrigerator, the money you would have to spend for your propane, and just everything that you'll need to cook, and then the time that it would take for you to set up everything to where you can cook everything and be safe. And then when you get done cooking, you gotta clean everything up, you gotta put everything in its rightful place right away, because when you live out of a van, you don't have the luxury of cooking and then just leaving it until the next morning. You gotta cook and get all that right away, because if you don't, you're gonna most likely not have a place to lay your head. Or two, if you don't set everything up properly, you could potentially catch your vehicle on fire. Or two, you can get carbon monoxide poisoning from the propane stove and everything like that. So when you take into consideration the extra time that it takes to get everything set up for cooking, for every time you want to cook a meal, even when you want to eat something like real simple, when you take into consideration the extra amount of time that you're going to have to use to set everything up, because you're going to, like in my case, I got to go to the back, I got to get on my food, I got to take what I want, bring it up here. Like, I got my, I got like a little oven that plugs into my cigarette lighter, which I do have it on my other van life videos. maybe on one of these videos I make later, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But anyhow, like if I wanted to do something simple like heat up some beans and rice, which is what I had the other day for dinner, I would have to set up the oven. I would have to plug in the oven, put the beans and the rice in, and then typically it takes about a half hour for my food to heat up hot enough to where I would be able to eat it. As where if I was at home and I wanted some beans and rice, I can just zap it in the microwave and within 2 minutes it's done. Like this is what I'm eating for breakfast this morning. Now normally when I'm at home, I cook me an omelet and I also cook me some oatmeal loaded up with fruits. Like typically I'll do like mixed fruit and a banana for my oatmeal. And for my omelet, I'll do onions, green pepper, tomatoes. But just to give you guys an example of what many of you are gonna be eating when you live this van life. See, this is what I got. I got my eggs. I gotta have my protein. I got my yogurt. A little bit of dairy. I got my orange. And I got my loaf of bread. I mean, basically, that's my breakfast. And sometimes, if I get around to it, if I do eat at lunch, my lunch typically is going to be some bread and a couple of servings of mixed nuts and some grapes. And then for dinner, I'll do some beans and rice, which I'll heat up in my little oven that I plug into my cigarette lighter. So, so for those that do the van life and do the van life for real, for those of you that are looking into doing the van life, you're gonna notice that the foods that you typically prepare at your house, the foods that you typically prepared for yourself when you were living when you were living in sticks and bricks, when you move into a van, I can almost guarantee you are not going to be preparing those kind of foods. Because A, you're not going to have the money to buy that type of equipment for your van to do those type of meal preps. B, you're not going to have the space. And C, when you realize how long it takes just to prepare simple stuff, you're going to want to eat stuff that's already made, it's already ready. All you got to do is open it up and eat and you're good. So when you live the van life, your diet will change because you're not going to want to sit around and be spending 45 minutes to prepare a meal that you're going to eat in probably 5 minutes or less. And then every time you want to eat something, it takes you 45 minutes to prep something. And I guarantee by the time you get done with your day of work or whatever it is you do during the day, you are not going to feel like coming back to your van and preparing a meal. You're going to want to have stuff like this, that's quick. My eggs, yogurt, orange, that loaf of bread, stuff that's ready to go. Open up the thing, eat, and you're good to go. And also with the van life, I mean, since I do live this van life with my cat, obviously on a daily basis, I have to take at least, I would say, 15 minutes to clean my van and also to clean her cat box so my van doesn't smell like piss. And then, of course, Let's talk about taking a shower. Now, as you guys can see, I'm in a minivan. See, I don't have no elaborate setup for a shower or for any type of water system. When I get thirsty, this is what I drink. I go to Walmart and I buy water. And this is also the type of water that I give my cat for a water dish. And typically I got my little cooler, which I fill up with ice every couple of days, and I go grocery shopping every 2 days just to make sure everything stays fresh and doesn't go bad. So let's see, I clean the van every day, change the cat box every day. So certain things that I typically wouldn't have to worry about so much when I'm living at my house, I gotta do when living out of a van. Like when I'm at my house, I go shopping once a week. But when you're living out of a van and you got limited space, I have to go shopping every 2 days just to make sure that none of my food spoils. And when I'm at my house, I do a little bit of cleaning up. Like after I cook, I'll clean. And I clean a cat box every day. But when you're living in a small space like this, I actually spend more time cleaning living in a van than I do when I'm at my house. And for those of you that are looking into the van life, most likely, you're going to find out real quick how important it is to have everything in order. How important it is to keep everything clean, especially if you're going to be living with another person or you're going to be living with a pet, such as I'm living with my cat. So those are things that you're going to want to think about before you just go crazy and be like, you know what, I quit my job. I'm terminating my lease early. I'm not going to pay my mortgage anymore. I'm going to let my house go to foreclosure. Those are things that you're going to want to think about before you jump into this van life. There's a lot of people that, I remember when this van life thing first started becoming popular on social media about 10 years or so ago. You had all kinds of people talking about how they decided to quit paying on their home and they've allowed their home to go to foreclosure. They quit paying their landlord. They told their landlord to shove it, basically. They quit their job, told their supervisor to shove it. They went out, bought the van, and started living van life. And shortly after they started living van life, what do you know? The van breaks down. Or if they have an RV, the RV breaks down. And now they don't have the money necessary to make the proper repairs. And next thing you know, their entire life is a mess. And I remember that. And there's a lot of people that, even if they wanted to go back to where they were at, they can't. They can't because they burnt those bridges. So if you're looking to live the van life, don't burn your bridges. Go ahead and give a proper 2-week notice to your job. If you really want to quit your job, don't just tell your boss to go F himself and then you quit, and then if you need a job later, they're not going to want to deal with you because of how you left. And if you're paying the mortgage, I'm an advocate of home ownership, so if you're paying a mortgage, personally, if I was in your shoes, I would do everything under the sun to keep that house, to pay that mortgage. And if even if you're paying rent. Now, I'm not a fan of paying rent. I hate it. I couldn't stand it. But if you're paying rent, again, don't burn your bridges at your apartment complex or whoever your landlord is. Stay in good graces with your landlord, because you never know when something might happen and you might need that person to, you might need that person for something. You never know. Life is weird like that. So yeah, do yourself a big favor. For those of you that want to live the van life, you want to travel, you don't want to work, blah, 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 do yourself a big favor. don't listen to all the bullshit that's on Instagram, because a lot of them don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I mean, they're just making videos so they can make money, and that's it. That's all. They're not really living this man life. They're not doing it full time. They're not even doing it part time. I would say many of them aren't doing that at all. They're just full of shit. So don't listen to the Instagram people. I mean, you know, use common sense. Use, use logic before getting into this van life. If you want to get into van life, don't spend a whole bunch of money on your setup. I mean, granted, you don't want to go out here and buy a piece of junk van. You want to buy something that's going to be reliable. But when it comes to your setup, don't go crazy with, okay, I got to have my solar. I got to have this and that and a third. Don't do all that right away. Do like what I'm doing. Just have you a simple setup to where, okay, just have you a setup to where everything that you think you'll need will run you no more than $500. And have it to where if you don't want to live the van life for whatever reason, if you don't want to live the van life, you can take all your crap out of your van. You can put the seats back in, and you will have a regular minivan that you can drive on a daily basis. So please, triple please, don't go crazy putting holes in your van, trying to have this elaborate Instagram setup. Don't do it. And obviously, I encourage you, if you want to live van life, go ahead, watch some van life channels. I mean, some of them are good, some of them are bogus, but you're going to have to use a little bit of common sense to decipher what ones are good and what ones are bogus. I can't really, like I told you guys, a lot of the elaborate van, and another thing is, there's people that have the elaborate van life set up to where they may have spent $50,000 or $60,000 on their setup, and I just think that's insane. All right, folks, I don't know what else to tell you guys. Everything which I think I need to tell you, I've told you. If anything new comes up, I will make another video similar to this one. So everyone have a blessed one, and I will see you on the next one.